and welcome back to Haley Geek. Today we're going to see what happens when a customer needs to send a geek to a different location, such as their mom's house or a branch office of their business. We're also going to see what happens when a geek needs parts to do the job, when he takes a break in the middle of the job, and we're even going to see how he can reduce the amount of labor time the customers charge for example, to prevent charging the customer for a personal phone call that the geek took during the job. So, let's get started. Let's take a look at how the customer is going to do this using the yellow customer app on the right. The customer sees there's 3 geeks on the map, looking good so far, and he sees at the top it says, "Where do you need a geek? Haley Geek here at your GPS location." And normally he might click that, but he works for a company that has several different branch offices, and today he needs to send a geek to a different branch office than the one that he's at to fix a PC that won't turn on. So he's going to use the second option, this slightly gray option right below that. It says different location. He's going to click that. It's going to ask him what address it is that he needs to send a geek to. He's going to type the address. Search finds it, fills all the rest of it in for him. And now he's going to click the continue button. It says please enter how to find me. So he scrolls down a little bit and notices it wants to know who to meet on site. Well, actually the geek is not going to meet him, so he's not going to click me, he's going to click other. And for who to meet, he's going to type Jane. And for how to find them, he's going to type ask the receptionist. And now he can click continue. The app wants to know what can we help you with. He's going to choose PC repair, and then at the bottom he's going to click continue. Now the app wants to know about any specifics he wants to add. He's just going to type it won't turn on. He's going to click show me the geeks. The app finds 2 geeks. He notices that one of them is closer to the location that he needs to send a geek to, so he's going to click that one and take a look. The app shows him this is Frank Gibson. He's got a 4.8 rating from 5 jobs. He's got a reasonable travel rate and labor rate. He's got some good skills, and he's got some great reviews. So the customer is going to click at the bottom, pick Frank Gibson. He's going to skip the optional question today. And now the Geek app on the left springs to life and lets the geek know he has a job offer for PC repair. And so the geek is going to click respond to client. And the geek is going to say, I can help with that. Customer says, great. How much will it be? The geek's going to say, I need to travel to the location to take a look at the PC to give a good estimate. And the geek adds, you'll only need to pay my low travel rate for the trip. Customer's going to say, sounds fine.
head on over. So now the Geek, on the Geek app on the left, clicks Accept Job and clicks Accept Job, Request to Start Travel. Now the Customer app on the right is asking the customer to approve the trip. The customer clicks the green Approve button. And now the Geek app lets the Geek know that the customer's approved the trip and head on over to the location. The Geek's going to use one of the handy navigation buttons and use Google Maps to get started on that trip. Meanwhile, the customer wants to watch to make sure the Geek is headed over there so that he can give a phone call to Jane to let Jane to be looking for the Geek to show up. We're not going to see the Geek travel on this because I'm just doing this demo in my office, but the customer would at this time actually be seeing the Geek making some progress heading that direction. So the customer is going to call Jane and let her know the Geek's on the way, call the receptionist, let the receptionist know to be looking for Frank, who's going to be looking for Jane, all that type of good stuff. And let's skip ahead and let's pretend the Geek has now arrived. So look at the Geek app on the left. You see that at the bottom right there's an I have arrived button. The Geek is going to click that. Alright, so now the Geek goes in, talks to a receptionist, finds Jane, goes, looks at the PC, gets an idea of what it needs, and clicks Enter Job Estimate. The Geek says it's going to take about an hour to fix this, which means the customer is going to pay $75. And the Geek clicks the green Send Estimate button. The customer receives the estimate, looks it over, sees it's going to take an hour and it's going to cost $75 plus some sales tax, and he clicks Approve. Alright, so the Geek app lets the Geek know that the customer has approved the job and that the Geek needs to go to job control to start the job clock. Alright, so now the Geek is going to click Begin Work to start that clock. And the customer, who, remember, is at a different location entirely, can see that the work has started. He's seeing the work timer go up. He's seeing the current charge so far. Meanwhile, the Geek is getting things together, opening up the PC, making sure that what he thought was wrong with it was wrong, verifies indeed that is it. And now we're going to see another feature of the Haley Geek app. We're going to see what happens when the Geek needs parts, because as it turns out, he needs to get this PC a power supply. So the Geek, on the Geek app on the left, if you look at the very bottom, there's a green button that says Job Control, and just to the right of that there's another button that says Require Parts. So the Geek is going to click that. Now the Geek has a few options for where to get these parts, and he's going to choose Bass Computers as where he wants to go to get these parts. So beside Bass Computers at the bottom, he's going to click Open, and it gives the Geek some instructions. It gives him the phone number to call for Bass Computers, which he's going to do because he needs to make sure that they have the power supply in stock and to see how much it is. So the Geek calls the number, talks to the salesperson at Bass Computers, and finds out how much the power supply is and that it is indeed in stock. And so he clicks to enter the parts, As he's talking on the phone with the salesperson, he enters that this is going to be a power supply, a 400 watt one, just one, and that it's going to be $75. And that's it. That's the only part that's needed. So now the geek is going to click the continue button. So now the customer, who, remember, is at a different branch office, sees the parts request. He sees a quick summary here. It's going to be $75.06, including tax. He clicks View Details, and he sees just that it's a power supply, 400 watts, the subtotal, the sales tax, and the total. And so now the customer is going to approve this. It asks the customer to confirm. Customer clicks OK. Now what's happening is the app has charged the customer's credit card on file for the parts. And so the parts have now already been paid for. On the Geek app is letting the Geek know that the customer's approved the parts request and that the Geek can start the parts trip. So the Geek is going to click OK. Geek's ready to go, so he's going to click Start Parts Trip. Now when the Geek starts the parts trip, the work timer is paused, and both the Geek and the customer can see this. Notice that the current charge has been updated on the customer app to let the customer know that the power supply is in there. It's now up another $75, and the customer app lets the customer know that the Geek is traveling to obtain the parts. And if the customer wanted to, he could click to watch the Geek make that parts trip on the map. Alright, so let's fast forward a little bit. Let's assume the Geek has gone to pick up the parts. By the way, when the Geek got to the parts depot, the salesperson had already received the PO, the purchase order for the parts, and so the salesperson knows that they're already being paid for by Haley Geek, and the salesperson has the part ready for the Geek to pick up quickly and head out the door. The Geek makes his way back to the service location and clicks the End Parts Trip button. Now the work timer starts again on both the Geek app and the customer app. And the Geek is installing the parts. Now before we finish this job, I wanted to show you a couple of other features. Let's say that the Geek needs to just run around the corner and get a quick soda or something. So the Geek is going to take just a quick break, run to the convenience store, get a soda, and so he's going to click Take a Break. And he's going to put in that this is going to be a 10-minute break. And he's going to click Begin Break. Alright, so on the Geek app it shows that the timer is paused, and on the customer app too, it's letting the customer know that the Geek is taking a break and will be back at this particular time. So the customer clicks OK. Now the Geek is back from getting their soda at the convenience store, so now they click End Break. And the work timer resumes as the Geek goes back to servicing the PC. Another feature that I wanted to show you, let's say that the Geek gets a personal phone call completely unrelated to the job, and tries to tell the person, I'm working, but it's something urgent and they have to talk for a few minutes. But the geek doesn't want the customer to be charged for this time, because that wouldn't really be fair, getting charged for time that the geek spent on a personal phone call. So what the geek's going to do, since he didn't have time to take a break before he could answer the call, he's just going to sort of add that break by clicking the Enter Labor Hours Reduction. Now this is a gray button underneath the green Job Finish button. The gray button says Enter Labor Hours Reduction. So he's going to click that button, and he's just going to put in reduce the time by 3 minutes. And now he's going to click the Enter Labor Hours Reduction. Notice what happens. The work timer got set back 3 minutes. 3 minutes have been deducted from the total amount of time that the customer is going to be charged for this job. Now the geek clicks Job Finished because the job is done. The Geek app asks, are you sure the job is completed? The geek clicks Confirm. Now the customer is notified that the job is finished. The customer has a nice little invoice here showing the amount he's being charged for labor, the time for labor, the travel time, and the parts. And since he already paid $75.06 for the parts, that's shown as already paid. If you take a look towards the bottom, there's a green line that says already paid, and shows that $75.06 was already paid. So all that's remaining for the customer to pay is $4.85. Customer's going to approve this. The work appears okay because he's already called Jane and found out the PC's working great now. So the customer clicks the work appears okay. His card gets charged, and the job is done. And he has an opportunity to rate the geek's work. He's going to give him a 5-star and say, this was super convenient. He got my employee back up and running at a remote office, and I got to manage the job from my main office. I love it. And this customer also feels like Frank did a great job, and so he's going to mark Frank as a favorite. And he's going to click Submit. And the job is done. Well, thanks for joining us for this demo. Please stay tuned for more coming along soon. Thanks for watching.